All right. Let me try to get this set up and we'll begin. So, hello, my name is Jennifer Lewis. Um, I have worked on this entire project pretty much twice now, and I would like to thank my volunteer, Havoc Kaiser, who is currently a 17-year-old senior at a local high school. He has gone through the self-determination the entire teaching with me, and tonight he's going to share his thoughts that he's prepared for you. All right, so we did the self-determination checklist. We worked on our goal plan. We did a good day. And I'm sorry, I said your name, but I do have you identified as a 17-year-old male. You're a senior at a nearby high school. You do receive lower level interventions to help with executive functioning because in one of your in multiple well child visits, it was acknowledged that you very well may have ADHD, but we have not pursued an IEP at this time. But you still completed the student rubric for IEP participation and self-determination. And we'll talk about all of this. Now, at your school, instead of an IEP, you have something called an IPS, which is an individual plan of study. Um, and I actually use your IPS as the basis, as the model for my student-led IEPs at my school, because you go over all of the same things. So your teacher already has you give me all of the parts that would be in an IEP meeting, except for we don't all have to agree on your individual plan. Um, so I wrote down that I was working with the student to help them set goals and make plans to reach those goals. As goal setting, when we did the self-determination checklist, was one of the identified weaknesses. And we're actually going to talk about that later on a different page. Okay, so I had you determine your goal, and the measurable post-secondary goal that you set with me was that by the end of 2025, you were going to attend tryouts at 2 local theater groups in order to gain experience as an actor and a puppeteer. And the outcome of this goal, like the ultimate thing that you want to achieve, is you want to become a successful puppeteer with Muppets. So, in your own words, how does this goal help you achieve that outcome?
Well, if I join local theater groups, they're gonna uh, be able to have an understanding of my acting abilities. And even though, like me, acting isn't really ventriloquism, I'm really good at it. Uh, so the ability to show that I can act, I can do voices, perfect for puppeteering stuff. Uh, because most of the time, whenever someone's being a ventriloquist or voice actor, they're not really on frame. So like I don't have to fully focus on my ventriloquism abilities, but I do love doing that because it scares people.
So, basically, what I'm hearing is you feel like getting into the theater market is going to help you ultimately get into the puppeteering market because you'll be able to show that you have the voice and the acting capabilities.
Yes.
I love that. All right. Okay, evaluate. So I asked you, what do you still want to learn about self-determination? And we had talked about what self-determination means. And out of the different levels of self-determination, what did you identify as what you still want to learn more about?
Uh, what I still want to learn more about is the internal locus of control because right now, though I do feel like I have quite a bit of control of my life, it's still not the amount of control that I want to have in my own life.
Mhm. And the first time that we talked about this, you kind of identified that you feel like you're not going to have as much control over your life as you would like until after you graduate high school. Okay, and out of the self-determination sort of checklist that we went through, what was the part that you said you already know a lot about?
Well, I already know a lot about my strengths and abilities because, I mean, when you've been an actor and then a senior doing all this stuff, you get people constantly telling you what you're good at and what you're bad at, but recently I've not been getting the what I'm bad at. So I feel like I have the strengths and the abilities to become an actor, but I just want to improve that because I know I'm good, but I can be great and I can be better.
Pardon me.
Always.
So what you had said is that self-awareness was a part that you already know. You're already very familiar with your strengths and overcoming weaknesses. And I mentioned that because you're already taking actionable steps to work towards progressing in your abilities. That shows me that you already do have some awareness of that internal locus of control. You're already taking control of the things that you are able to take control of. So I would agree that your self-awareness is a definite strength, but I would also kind of argue that you're getting there on that locus of control. Okay, so then I had you think, so how can you measure your goal so that you know when you've achieved it? And we did that by completing the goal plan together. So you had listed your goal, the outcome of your goal, what the next steps are, and the people who can support you. So how will you be able to measure your goal?
Well, if, by reaching my goal, that means I've officially reached out myself, asked theater troops and stuff for auditions, going to casting calls, doing all that stuff to actually make my presence known in the world, not just sitting around saying I'll do it instead of just doing it.
So once you've actually gone out and tried out for at least two groups, you've reached that goal. You've started the process. Okay, perfect. Then I had you establish an action plan. So what did you tell me are the steps that you're taking or going to take?
Well, first off, my dad has been adamant that I do theater groups. He's gonna force me to go to theater groups instead of taking a break year after high school's over.
Mhm.
Uh, in this coming January, I have to do a one act for my thespian group. And while I'm there, I'm also going to be doing a tryout to see if I can get some college scholarships in my hand.
So
Uh,
you'll be building that networking, yeah, like getting a network of contacts.
and a while ago, I don't fully remember when, I signed up for a free acting class that's ran by a voice actor who is Wolverine and the X-Men animated series and Spike from Cowboy Bebop. It's a great thing. He talks about all of the light went off, but it's fine. He talks about all of the processes of uh, being an actor, how to start the acting career, how to get your voice uh, actually listened to while you're acting. And how I can tell he's a great teacher to listen to is because he said he's not the only teacher you should be listening to, which is like something that I don't hear from the other acting teachers that are like, I can make you the best.
So you don't need to just sign up for auditions. You're already taking steps to prepare to be your best at those auditions.
Mhm.
All right. Sounds like a great plan. So I asked you then to recognize barriers to this goal and ways to deal with them.
Uh, the biggest barrier I have is just being able to have a quiet area where I can record my stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, right now is fairly quiet, but that's because the dogs are all asleep and uh, you're not going to be hearing them tapping. You're not going to be hearing them barking if I get slightly too loud. And
So what was the thing that you identified that can help you kind of
uh,
overcome this barrier, hopefully?
well, I could steal time in my dad's office because that uh, quiets out a lot of the noise that I'd be dealing with. Uh,
Because the last people that lived in your house,
mhm.
they recorded music, right? So
Yeah,
your dad has sort of a sound room now.
yeah, it's great. I stole a rock band's house. Now I have the ability to have a quiet area where I can record my stuff and be loud and not have to feel like, maybe I'm gonna annoy people or maybe I'm gonna get the dog yelling at me.
Right? Okay. Hey, so I asked you to make a timeline to act on your plan. So the first thing I asked you to do is what is something that you can do right now to help you towards your goal? And what did you say?
Right now, I can practice voice recordings. I can practice finding the range of my voice because it's still slightly developing.
Mhm.
Uh, I can uh, try out for acting stuff already because there are kids younger than me, way younger than me, like in elementary school, who are doing acting
Mhm.
already, who are like well ahead of me, making more money than I will be.
So right now you're
Yeah,
saying that you can start practicing your voice recordings, you
yeah,
can start honing that craft.
yeah.
Then I asked you, what could you do in 3 months that will help you towards your goal? And what did you
Well,
say?
and just this coming January, I have to do that one act that I talked about earlier. That's gonna help me get chances on earning scholarships, even
Mhm.
though college isn't a like dead set idea for me. It is a thing that I like. If I end up getting a scholarship for, I'll end up taking.
So you're keeping your options open, but you're actively working towards those options so
Yeah,
that they remain open.
yeah.
Perfect. Okay, and then I asked you, what would you like to have done by the end of this school year? And what did you tell me?
By the end of this school year, I want to at least attend one casting call, make sure that my voice is already getting recognized, being out there. People will remember my name. It's a very hard name to forget.
That's true. That is true. All right. Next, I asked you to identify. Um, so I asked you to look over the I Am Determined website with me. We went through several pages together. And what was it that you said that you have learned about self-determination and setting your own measurable goals?
Well, I didn't really learn much personally. I can tell how others could learn through this, but to me, it's just repetitiveness, stuff
Mhm.
I've already been over, stuff I constantly am going over, and I know I'm gonna have to continue going over this more and more, which is
Right.
just annoying to me.
Well, even though you're annoyed, I want to thank you so much for your time and just your willingness to help me out with this because unfortunately, I was not able to make my deadline with the student that I had in mind. So I really appreciate you doing this because I know it was annoying for you. And yes, there are many parts that are repetitive, especially if we're doing it all in one night. But something I noticed about the repetitiveness that kind of was made me happy is I can tell um, that you're getting what you need at least some of the time out of advisory. I really appreciate that you already have an individual plan of study and that your school actually has you lead these conferences and they have you create a product. And so you've been able to verbalize for quite some time how you're making choices, how you're making decisions, how you're solving problems, how you're setting goals. All of this was familiar to you, which is why it feels so repetitive. But I do appreciate that you feel like it could help others. All right. So then I asked you to note what you've already accomplished that will help you with your goal. And what did you tell me?
Well, recently, just a few weeks ago, I went to uh the OU, like OU was doing a radio show thing
Mhm.
for
And that was in conjunction with KOFO,
yeah,
the radio station.
that was in conjunction with the local radio station. While I was doing the radio show, there was a like a can't remember the name right now. Uh, I had to compete with yeah, a talent show. There was a talent show. That's the word for it. I had to compete in a talent show, and I got first place in the talent show. I performed Manor Muppet with one of my puppets that I named Squeep.
Yeah.
Uh, I ended up getting first place in that, and it got me $75. That was real nice, which just doing that alone was able to get my name and my voice thrown out there, not only to OU but to like whoever listened to the radio
Yeah.
during that day. uh And like even afterwards, when I just performed my musical like 2 weeks ago, uh, I had a whole line of people that were taking up the entire aisle just to talk to me about being a funny, uh, charismatic, just out there person who's able to like be part of the role that I'm in, be active with what I'm doing and not just doing it because it's a school musical.
I have to say, I think it takes a lot of self-efficacy, which we've already talked about, is your belief in your ability to succeed. It takes a lot of self-efficacy and a lot of belief in yourself to go on a radio program as a man and a Muppet and be able to relay that just over radio, that sometimes you're the man and sometimes you're the Muppet characters. So that was pretty interesting, pretty gutsy, but I appreciate the move.
It was recorded, so there is a video out there of me doing it. It's not just the radio.
Okay. All right. Then I asked you to evaluate what steps you still need to take in order to reach your goal and who can help you get started. And what did you say about
Well, my steps are the exact same as my action
this?
plan. I have my steps, they've been lined out for like months now.
Mhm.
I have my theater and choir teacher. They love that I try, that I put in the effort, and they're helping me find contacts with other people. They're helping me find these ways that I can audition for scholarships. My dad, he's one of the best helps I've had on all of this because when I was younger, how he was able to pay his bills and stuff is through a puppet group
Yeah.
named The Felt Show. Uh, that led him to be able to give me those connections so that I'm able to talk to other people, get get my voice out there more.
I love that. Yeah. And self-promotion is not one of the steps of self-determination, but I think your self-advocacy is pretty on point. All right, then do it. Okay, I know it's been repetitive and tough, and I know that everything I asked you to do is everything that you've already done for your IPS this
Mhm.
year. But I am asking you to make a commitment to continue to make your own choices, your own decisions, to help solve your own problems, to set your own goals, to practice those self-regulation skills that we talked about, to keep practicing that self-advocacy, to foster an internal locus of control. Even though I know you feel like a lot of things are out of your control while you're in high school, keep focusing on the things you can control. Believe in your self advocacy or your ability to succeed, and practice self awareness by knowing your strengths and your limitations. So I'm going to ask you now, will you do it?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much for helping me with this. I appreciate your insight as a student who I know struggles in school, but you have a lot of really cool talents and a lot of, um, I think you have a good support system behind you that wants you to succeed. And I really appreciate your feedback on this. All right. Thank you. I'm still recording.